This is Steve Schiffman. I want to thank you very much for joining me today in this webcast, podcast that we put out literally every single day for you as a sales rep or for you as a sales manager to help you manage your people more effectively. And I want to just tell you up front that if you need some assistance or you question what I'm saying, then ask me. Say to me, hey, what is that about? Call me up, write me. We'll be glad to help you, and we'll be glad to send you a book if you want. So let me know, okay? Today I want to talk to you about the mail. Yeah, the mail, the post office. I doubt that you have mailed out anything in a while. You haven't done a mailing, a mass mailing. Now, when I started my business, there wasn't the internet as it is today. So what I did was I put together a newsletter every week, and every month, and I actually bought it from a company that produced it for me, and they put the logo on there and all that kind of nonsense, and these things came in. And at night, and it was once a month, my whole family, actually, the kids, we'd sit there and fold them and put them in envelopes, fold them, put them in envelopes, put the label on, put the label on, put the label on, and then, which I'm sure you may know, it was bulk mail, so you have to wrap it up by zip code, and you did this thing, and you humped the thing, and then you dragged it with a bag, canvas bag at the post office. Never washes. You take those bags, you drag them across the street, take them to the post office, and they maybe get them to where you're going. Actually, it worked. And little by little, I got a response. Little by little, people would write to me or say, call me up or say, hey, I got the thing, and I like that little thing that you wrote, and so it worked. And then, of course, everything changed. The whole world changed when the internet really became popular, and people said, well, let's use the internet and send out emails, and let's not ever mail again. That's a mistake. It's a mistake if you're not using the mail, Federal Express, UPS. If you're not using some of those things, if all you're doing is using the internet and all you're doing is sending out an email blast, it's not going to work. It just doesn't. And the reason is everybody's doing it. You've got to look at that. You've got to say to yourself, if everybody's doing the same thing, how are you going to separate yourself out? How are you going to get somebody to listen to what you have to say versus the other person? We're all doing the same thing. So it becomes the same thing. In fact, you and I both know that there are people who never respond to email. They tell you that. Oh, I never respond to email. They actually say that. You've been there. You know that. So how do they get their information? Well, they probably don't. And they probably don't need what you're selling either because they're not responding to it. So what do? I like to use the mail. Now, you can use it in a variety of ways. You can, when I say mail, it's UPS, Federal Express, it's the post office, it's whatever you want to use, but it's not email. That's the key. It's not email. Email is going to get through to a certain number of people, and you can predict that, but it's not email. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm going to send is a letter. A letter. Yes, a letter. An actual letter. Dear blah, right? An actual letter that describes what it is that we're looking to do, which is to set up a meeting. And you're going to sign it. Yes, with a pen. You're going to sign it. Signature. You're going to put that on there. Now, why do you do that? Because you want to get the person's attention and you want to separate yourself out from everyone else. You don't want to be like everybody. We've talked about that. How do you separate yourself out from the other people? Well, not by email. That's not going to happen. In fact, one of the mistakes that I hear all the time is people use the internet and they actually write a description of everything they do in that email. The person wouldn't read it. It's 4 pages long. But you could write a simple letter that says, the reason I'm writing today is to set up a meeting with you so that I can explain some of the things that we do for you. I'll call next Tuesday. Now you've got a chance. Doesn't mean you're going to get through. Doesn't mean anything, but you got a chance. At least you've separated yourself out. Now I remember salespeople back in 1950, now I wasn't there, but 1950, where they would mail a picture of their face. They would put their shoes. I had a guy I was working with who said to me, I sent my shoe in. I mailed my shoe. I said, why? And then he put a note on it saying, see, I got my foot in and now I want to get my other foot in. I mean, it was so ridiculous. But that's what they did in those days. But you don't need to do that. I didn't want to, but you don't need to do that. But you need to say to yourself, what are you going to do that's different from everybody else who's selling the same thing? And if what you're doing, especially for an appointment, trying to get an appointment, if what you're doing is what everybody else does, that is use email, right, some kind of email blast, it's not going to happen. Now, I had somebody the other day. I said to him, what'd you do? He said, well, I wrote him in the email what we want to do. I said, you wrote all that? He said, well, yeah. I said, well, why do you think he's going to call you back? He now knows. It's not that it's not going to happen, but he now knows what you want. It says, I want to sell, basically. So why put that in? I don't know. Anyway, this is Steve Schiffman. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. If I can help you, please contact me by email, by mail, if you like, by telephone, doesn't matter. Let me know how I can help you. And I thank you for being here today. And as always, your presence is humbling.